Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lode-Holt. In the 1960s, Frida Kaplan, an American produce importer, changed the name of the Chinese gooseberry to the kiwi fruit, after New Zealand's national bird, which is also round, brown, and furry. Popularity of the fruit spiked. Those little factual snippets I found in an article recently have shown us how a name is important. On the other hand, the only reason we are looking at the men we are considering in the Bible this week is because they share a name. Their stories and what we learn from them are different, but they all share the name Joseph. Today, the Josephs we will examine all have small but important roles in the Bible's story. The first Joseph for today is someone you know by another name, Caiaphas. In fact, his full name is Joseph Caiaphas, and he was the high priest at the time of Jesus' arrest and crucifixion. When the Romans conquered Israel, they established a man named Annas to be the high priest. He served as long as he could, but when his term was up, he arranged for his sons and a son-in-law to succeed him. What this meant, in effect, was that Annas was calling the shots behind the scenes. Everyone knew this, so when they arrested Jesus, the first place they took him was to Annas. Then, so the proceedings were official, they took him to Annas' son-in-law, Caiaphas, for trial. It is Caiaphas who makes the prophetic statement that it is better for one man to die for the sake of the people than for the whole nation to perish. He didn't know the importance of what he said. A second Joseph with a small place in the Bible story is Joseph, son of Heli. My guess is you've never heard of him, because the only place he is mentioned is in a part of the gospel that most of us skip over. You find this Joseph mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus that Luke includes. Again, most of us skip over these lists of names in Matthew and Luke, but in truth, there's a lot of important information in there. In Matthew's genealogy of Jesus, for example, several women are named, and in fact, a few of them are a bit shocking. Rahab is there, and she was a foreigner and a prostitute. Ruth is there, and she was a foreigner as well. And so is Bathsheba, although she is referred to as the wife of Uriah, pointing out explicitly King David's adultery with her and the murder of Uriah. One of Matthew's points in all this is that Jesus is for all people. His line contains sinners and foreigners as well as Jews. The genealogy in Luke is distinctive because it traces it all the way back to Adam. The one in Matthew ends at Abraham, but Luke pushes it all the way to Adam to point out that God's plan was for Jesus to come from the very beginning of everything. Joseph, son of Heli, is listed in Jesus' line, and the point is that Jesus is legitimately the rightful Messiah. He has the credentials and comes from the right line of descent as a son of David. The third Joseph for today is Joseph, the brother of Jesus. Frankly, there is some mystery and confusion about this. Did Joseph and Mary have children other than Jesus? Jesus' birth was extraordinary, but did Joseph and Mary have children naturally after that, like most husbands and wives do? The only clues we have are a reference when people think that Jesus has lost his mind, and as the crowds are gathered around, Jesus is told that his mother and his brothers and sisters are outside asking for him. Jesus says, Who are my mother and my brothers and my sisters? Those who do the work of God are. Was Jesus meaning that he did have actual brothers and sisters? Or is he referring to the faithful people as his brothers and sisters? We don't really know, but a plain reading would seem to indicate that he had real brothers and sisters. This idea is strengthened later on in the early church. The leader of the church in Jerusalem is a man named James, who actually is Jesus' brother. Further, it is thought that this Joseph was certainly a relative of Jesus's, and that he may have been the father of someone known as James the Lesser, who became a disciple of Jesus and one of the 12 apostles. There was a James who was one of the sons of Zebedee and John's brother, and one of Jesus' 3 special friends, Peter, James, and John. But there was another disciple also named James, and he is called James the Lesser. His father may have been Joseph, Jesus' brother, making Jesus his uncle. Now, there's a lot of speculation there. But one thing that this tells us is that Jesus had a family, and his earthly life involved real family relationships, just like we have. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.